you don't have skinny ankles, you're probably not Aboriginal. If you're working with Aboriginal people, I am going to give you some very good information that I could charge you for tens of thousands of dollars, really, if I really wanted to. But I'm not going to do it because I am feeling like a good person right this minute. To build better relationships and outcomes with Aboriginal people, whether that's in the workplace, as an educator, a psychologist, a support worker, or you just work in community, you're working with blackfellas and you don't know how to engage. What I'm going to do is, I'm breathing really heavy right now, I don't know. What I'm going to do is share with you some information that I could charge tens of thousands of dollars for. People do charge that. I have charged a lot of money, but I'm going to give it away to you for free because, one, I am ADHD, and I just thought, like, I mean, look at the state of the room in the background. It's so unprofessional right now. I don't care. Two, let's skip that. Three, I'm focusing a lot of my energy and my time on the Aboriginal mental health course because it's NAIDOC week at the time of recording this. We're at like 704 spots, maybe 705 currently. Even if I do the maths, that's not many spots left till we hit our goal of 1,000. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's all good. My main focus, what my main hyperfixation is on the Aboriginal mental health course that I created for us, by us. It's funded by communities around Australia. So what we're going to do is, a lot of people don't know this if you're coming from my Instagram account, because at the time of recording, I got like 85,000 followers on there. A lot of people don't know, but I actually do a little bit of consulting. Yes, consultant, yes. So I do a little bit of consulting, right? My main channel is Your Online Brother. That's what I'm really known as. It says that on the shirt, crew neck. But I also have something on the side called First Nations Relations, and I created that for consulting, but I'm going to give you away a lot of information for free. You're probably thinking, hurry up and get into it. Okay, so I will. So I created a framework, okay, for non-Indigenous Australians to connect with Indigenous Australians or Indigenous peoples, depending on how they want to identify. And that framework is called I'll write it right here, the Bridge Framework. And I think it's an amazing name, by the way, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bridge that gap. But the reason why I created First Nations Relations, it's not about that, but it is more than cultural awareness, because I think personally, cultural awareness, it has its place, but I think it's outdated. I think it is a little bit outdated, and it's less now about making people aware of the injustices of the past and things that still occur today, and more about how can I actually take this information and help it and use it to help me create better relationships and outcomes with Aboriginal people. Because that's the whole point of it. That's why workers get put through it. Is there a lot of box ticking? Of course there is. The Bridge Framework is a framework that I created, and it's the framework you're going to keep in mind. It's the same as when people have the CPR and the doctor's ABCD. This is what you're going to do. I could spend months and months, literally, talking through each single letter and what it represents and how you can use that within your workplace or within the community, whether you're working or not and you just want to connect with blackfellas. However, my ADHD will run out by the time of this video and I'll be doing something else. So I don't have, maybe we'll do that at some point, but I don't have all day right now. What we're going to start off with, if you don't know how to spell or you have dyslexia, Bridge, I'm not making fun of you, okay? Relax. Bridge, the first letter on Bridge is B, and it stands for Be Human. Not sure if you can even see that, or it's probably in reverse. If it is, me. Be human, okay? So that's one of the first things that I want to, if I could give advice to all non-Indigenous Australians who want to work with Aboriginal people, who are working with Aboriginal people, families, students, community members, it's that. And if we just stop there, that's going to change a lot of things for you. Being human and remembering that the people you are dealing with are not much different to you. There are a lot of differences between cultures, But humans really at our core do not differ. Not that much. Aboriginal people still get scared in horror movies. Yep. That's why we don't whistle at night, okay? Aboriginal people trip over up the street and look around really quickly and hope no one saw them. Aboriginal people will drink coffee and need to SHI instantly straight after. Not all Aboriginal people, of course. Some of you fellas are lucky you don't have lactose intolerance, but you just mustn't be an IBS baddie like me and then the rest of us. Aboriginal people are people, and you yourself, whether you're Aussie or you're whatever nasho you are, whatever your cultural background is, you're a human. And when you recognize that you're a human, they're a human, or the people you're working with are human, you can take a deep breath and stop walking around on eggshells. Because what happens is, because of facilitators and all the things we hear on social media, things can be very touchy. And when it comes to cross-cultural relationships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians, and people can really feel like they're walking on eggshells. They don't want to say the wrong thing. They don't want to do the wrong thing. And that is really, really important. And I see that as actually a really good sign that if you're worried about doing the wrong thing, that means that you care. So you're already a step ahead than other people who are just like, oh, he's a f-. But, however, understanding that you are a human and that the people that you're engaging with are human can help you remain grounded and understand that regardless of what you say and do, of course, there are some things that you probably should avoid saying. Regardless of what you say and do, if you do them with the right intent and you are genuine and you are kind and you are caring and you're respectful, you are always, maybe not always, there's always some DIC head out there that's going to have a problem with you, or sometimes we are that person. But most of the time, you're going to be fine. When you're working with Aboriginal people, if you are respectful, I don't care if you are that white that you get burnt at night, all right? The rays off the moon bounces and hits you and you wake up in the morning and you're red like a lobster. If you are respectful and you listen and you want to learn and you acknowledge any mistakes that you may make, because we all make mistakes, we all accidentally say the wrong thing sometimes, you're going to be set, like you're sorted. You don't even got to worry about the rest of those things. They're going to add on, of course, but remembering that you are a human and they are a human is going to take a lot of anxiety off of you. And speaking of anxiety, let's go to R. I'm going to have to rub this out. R stands for respect the fact that I have not punched this mirror because it keeps moving every time I draw on it. Respect boundaries. Now that's layered. Everything that I say is layered. Hopefully I spelled that correctly, because if I didn't, shame job. Nah, at least I'm trying. Respect and boundaries, that is understanding both personal and cultural boundaries. And when I say boundaries, I also mean limitations as well. Respecting personal, cultural, professional, and relationship limitations and barriers and boundaries. I don't know why I said that so slow. This is long and layered, but one of the amazing things that I'll say really quickly that you'll be like, fuck, I should give this guy $1 million. Probably not $1 million, but when you assume, because this is what happens, right? A lot of non-Indigenous Australians, when they work with black fellas or they just don't know, and they assume, and we all do that about each other. But a lot of non-Indigenous Australians, they assume that Aboriginal people have a wide variety of knowledge, and there are some Aboriginal people that do that. And just like any human at all, there are Aboriginal people who have their expertise in their own ways, and they may know this, they may know that, they may know, regardless of Aboriginal. This person may know this person. But what happens is, a lot of non-Indigenous Australians assume that because someone's Aboriginal, they know everything to do with cultural knowledge, with law, with bush medicine, with songlines, with this and with that. And a lot of the time, that's not the case. Again, I myself, so when I say that, I'm not saying that I know everything, I know this much, but compared to other people that even have darker skin than me, I may know more than them, and they might know more than me in certain ways. What I'm getting at, if you treat every single person as if they know everything, and you don't respect that there are limits, to people's knowledge and understanding, and if you don't do that, you can make people feel really insecure. Because what happens is a lot of time people want to engage with Aboriginal people and learn about their culture and tell me about, what do you know about this, what do you know about that? But if a lot of people don't know about their own culture, they're going to shut down, or they're not going to really want to talk about it, or they're going to become defensive, because then they're burning inside that this person expects me to know. I wish I knew, but because of my mother, my father, my aunties, my uncles, my grandfather, my grandmother being removed, I lost a lot of that knowledge. Or because of the community that I live in, a lot of people have passed away, or there's elders that it can be difficult to stay engaged with and to learn that cultural knowledge. There's so much lost knowledge for Aboriginal people out there, which is really hard, and that can affect our identities and our beliefs about ourselves. But the whole point of what I'm getting at is learning to respect people's boundaries and their limits. So that's cultural, personal. Some people are going to feel like if you talk with them about culture, that you can be like virtue signaling. Some people love it, and that's up to you. You got to kind of suss out those boundaries and those limitations yourself. And that's the whole beauty of life, is learning and then sussing things out for yourself. Nothing is ever really a one size fits all for people. Could get into respecting boundaries and limitations forever. Probably one more thing I'll say about it, which is just as important as well, is remembering that you are a human. I hope so. Or you're a lizard person or whatever. Regardless of whether you are Mark Zuckerberg, shout out. You are then in a role, whether that's community role, educational role, whatever. You got to respect as well, and to take that anxiety off you, that you have your relationship limits, you have your relationship boundaries, you have your role boundaries. There's some things you can do, and there's some things you just can't do. And what happens a lot of the time is a lot of non-Indigenous Australians are so keen to help and to make things happen, that what happens is they can start to take on a lot of pressure and a lot of shame and a lot of stress, because they're in a role and they're trying to do 1,000 different roles, right? Trying to help, great intentions, trying to help. But you got to remember that you can only do as much as possible. Like, you can only do what you can do in the role that you're in. And not only that, I'll talk quickly about cultural load. What can happen as well if you're not respecting boundaries and you're not respecting limitations and work boundaries and limitations, is then what a lot of people do as well is they'll try and push everything onto their Indigenous colleagues if they're working with the Aboriginal people. That's called cultural load, where they're expected to do what I'm doing now, which is educating for free. They're expected to do the welcomes, the acknowledgements, they're expected to line everything up, to do this and that. So what I just said can be like, well, what am I meant to do then? All you're meant to do is just understand that you have your role, do as much as you can in your role. If you feel capable, of course, try and do as much more than your role. But at the end of the day, you're a human, your mental health matters, your stress levels matters. You can only do so much, and so can the Aboriginal colleague that you work with. And unfortunately, you got to learn that if you're in a role, you're going to have limitations. That's why I no longer work for people, really, because I don't like being boxed in. I like being manic and flying around and doing whatever I want. But then when things go wrong, I've only got myself to blame. So I is initiate conversation. This is love, this one, bruh. Because what happens is, this happens all the time. A lot of people assume that Aboriginal people, because we talk about You always hear this. I'm proud Dungutty, I'm proud Gamilaroi, I'm proud Wiradjuri, I'm proud Bundjalung, or whatever, man, woman, whoever. What happens is then people think that blackfellas are always walking around confident with their chest out. If you're working in community services, if you're an educator, if you're whatever, if you're engaging with students, with families, with participants, with clients, a lot of the time, these people, and I can't speak for all Aboriginal people, everyone's different. A lot of Aboriginal people actually have a lot of shame and are quiet, you know what I mean? Maybe till you get to know them, blackfellas will open up. Of course, this doesn't exist for everybody. It's not the same for everybody. But I noticed that there are a lot of people forgetting that Aboriginal people, even though we say we're proud, this and that doesn't mean we walk around with our chest out all the time, or that we feel confident all the time to have conversations with staff members or with workers or with whoever. You've got to remember that a lot of blackfellas come in with an invisible backpack, and our families or we ourselves have had bad experiences with maybe the people that you work with or people that we associate you that you work with. And because of that, there's going to be a hesitancy there to engage. So I initiate conversation. You're going to have to come up with an icebreaker or just say, hey, how you going? How you doing? Because a lot of time there are blackfellas that want to be a part of the service, or they're just feeling hesitant, and they might not want to be the first ones to open up. So initiating conversation is huge. You don't have to speak about anything cultural. Just be a human, have a conversation. How you going? Have you had a cup of coffee today? Have you had a cup of, oh yeah, I'll go down here. Where do you go? Blah, blah, blah. Be a human. On top of that, once you've done that and you've broken that initial barrier, what's important to do, extremely important, and I can't stress this enough, is to address issues early rather than try and sweep them under the rug, which is what a lot of organizations do, a lot of companies, so many people. They try and sweep things under the rug, or they're so uncomfortable they don't want to talk about it. If you are in one of those positions where you're a manager, or maybe you're not a manager, but you're working with Aboriginal people, it is so important that you clear the air, right? And you have these uncomfortable conversations earlier before they turn into, if there has been an issue, earlier, because otherwise they're just going to grow, and it's going to grow, and reputation can be damaged, relationship can be damaged. Have them conversations early as possible with the people when you can, in the right time. Of course, you can try and right timing everything. But sometimes there is no right time. Sometimes it's just now. D, did I even write that on the board? I don't think I did. D, drop. Let's do it down ways here. Drop. Then booty cheeks. Kidding. Drop. Drop. If I say that one more time, I'm going to drop myself with an uppercut. Drop the fear. That's what I've been trying to do for you the whole time that we've been having this little yarn. And that's what I started off with Be a Human. Trying to help you understand that when you drop the fear, as much as you're still allowed to feel it, like that book or whatever it says in it, and just give yourself time and patience and just sit with yourself and say, look, there's no perfect interaction with an Aboriginal person. There's no perfect relationship with an Aboriginal person. I'll tell you why. Because that is a human-to-human thing. There's nothing to do with Aboriginal people at all. You are a human. And humans make mistakes. We do some silly things, but there's nothing that's ever perfect, like tick a box, perfect. Yep, done. That was a perfect conversation. That's a perfect relationship I have with uncle such and such, or auntie such and such, or the nephew here, or whatever. Drop the fear that you have to be perfect, that you have to be perfect in your role, that you have to be perfect in your words and everything that you say. Because what's going to happen is blackfellas are smart. We've been through a lot of things. So we're good at sussing out people and picking up on people's energies, righto? I know that sounds a bit spiritual, so I'll use other words. Picking up on people's characters. If you are someone who's like hesitant to say things and you're really like, it is what it is, but it's just going to be so much smoother for you and for people just to be like, you know what do I have to fear? Like, if I say the wrong thing or I do the wrong thing, if I'm genuine, I can repair that. If they don't want to repair that, it is what it is. But remember that you don't have to be scared engaging with Aboriginal people, because people are people. Going back to the start, human. Another important thing to remember is this, because a lot of people who are scared and they got a lot of fear around causing harm, which is amazing. Of course, we don't want to do that. Creating damage to reputation, to ourselves or to our workplace or whatever. You got to understand this. Although the Aboriginal people make up a certain community, wherever that town is, city is, whatever, there is not one whole unison group of Aboriginal people in an Aboriginal community that all agree with each other and that all 100% back each other. And in knowing that, it's good to remember, because then you can get over this fear of like, if I say something wrong, then, or I do something wrong, then the whole community are going to turn against me and my whole world will end. I'm going to have to lay in bed and just eat Tim Tams and cry myself to sleep. Of course, you can offend a large group of the Aboriginal community if you say the wrong things. However, if you, as going back to being a human, as I said, if you are genuine in your approach, you're genuine in your intent, and you really listen and you learn from mistakes, you're going to be fine. Because even if you do offend someone, that doesn't mean the whole community is going to turn on you, because people in communities are also individuals, and individuals can think for themselves. A lot of people do go with it, they hear something and they run with it, but you're going to get them people in all types of communities, righto? Drop the fear that you have to be perfect for the Aboriginal community, that you have to be a perfect person. Now, when I say that, that doesn't mean I'm giving you a pass to go out and be a DI, don't know if I have to say that backwards, head, and like, oh, well, they don't agree with each other, so I'm just going to call them this and say this. I'm not saying that at all. But it's just to ease that pressure you feel, or take away them eggshells under your nice Crocs that you're wearing when you're engaging with the Aboriginal community, an Aboriginal person, and an Aboriginal uncle. G, ground yourself. So to drop that fear, we are going to I'm going to draw a mad little arrow there. Ground yourself. Blackfellas have known this for a long time. That's why we go out on country, or in country, because we don't sit on country. We sit in country because we're not above it. Even though we are standing on it, we are within that system. This kind of goes back to respecting limitations and boundaries, and it's just grounding yourself in understanding that, again, we're human. We're human, and we're just doing the best that we can. And we got to remember too, when we ground ourselves, that a lot of the time we can have these amazing expectations of what transformation looks like, what relationships look like. And we've watched too many happy-go-lucky movies, and we think like we're going to have, let's say if you're working out of home care, you're going to have these kids who are completely traumatized from mum and dad, and next minute you're going to just come into their life, or you or someone else will come in their life, and all of a sudden they're like a world champion, and they make a movie and a book about you, and they're like, oh, this worker or this educator was the one who changed everything for me, and it all happens within a year of knowing them. I do it all the time. I work in out of home care, and I still get into that thing sometimes where I'm like, oh, I wish I could help this person more or whatever. You've got to remain grounded and remember, sometimes whether you believe in a creator or not, some things are just, no matter what you do, things are going to happen the way that they unfold. That doesn't mean you don't try, but you just ground yourself and remember, look, I'm a human. I'm just doing the part that I can. And fingers crossed things work out, and fingers crossed my influence, whether it's big or small, makes a big difference in this person's life or the family's lives. It can also be physically grounding yourself. Go outside, go sit down, stand up, do whatever you got to do a handstand, and calm yourself down. And remember, you're just a human. Righto, ground yourself. The last one, and the absolute truth, like, this is not just for blackfellas, but this is really for working with blackfellas. Absolutely, you have to do this. You have to do it. If you don't do it, you're setting them up to fail. You set yourself up to fail, and you're just a long line of people that have done this to them already. And that is, I'm going to bring it over here, righto. Engage consistently. The amount of people that have already come into their lives and promised them this and that, whatever service you're in. So I had to take a moment there just thinking about personal experiences. Blackfellas have already heard it all, righto? If they haven't, they're going to. What's most important is that you do these things over and over and over again and give it time. Changes do not occur overnight. In an absolute miracle, absolutely, but generally speaking, in reality, even if a change occurs overnight, it's because of all the things that led up to that moment. And then we wake up and it's like, oh, everything's new. Engaging consistently in the same way as much as possible is going to build trust, rapport, respect, and people are just going to know where they stand with you. And it's especially important that everyone's on the same page, because if you have, and that's why being with good co-workers can change everything. And it's unfortunate because unless we're the hiring manager, we can't just fucking choose our co-workers. But there are ways to, create better relationships with our co-workers. The better relationships we have and the more aligned we are with the people that we work with, the better it's going to be. If you're watching footy, it's like in defense, when everybody runs up together, people can't get past you. When people are going forward and back and here, there, and there's gaps everywhere, people are going to run through it. If you're in out-of-home care, for example, and you, whether you're an educator or not, it still applies, and you promise one thing, or your boundaries are this way with this kid, and then another worker, that was not a father, that was my fucking foot, even if it was what, another worker is completely different with their boundaries with that kid, there's going to be a lot of confusion there. What all people need, kids, adults, whatever, is that consistency and that stability. And it's these after time and after time and after time again. These are things that will make, in the real world, will make a big difference in outcomes, in relationships, in just, even not just with blackfellas, like if you're not even working with Aboriginal people, if you apply them principles of the bridge, you're going to create better relationships with people. What the world needs, and this is what makes me laugh about Australia, is I think it was 8 years it took to build the Sydney Harbour Bridge, what we're famous for. And of course, it had to be built, and we met in the middle. Now, it took 8 years, correct me if I'm wrong, to create the Sydney Harbour Bridge. And it had to be two sides that connected. And otherwise, it ain't a bridge then, is it? If you only build one side, well, that's a diving board, or whatever you want to call it, a Hot Wheels ramp straight into the ocean. You need both sides to be stable and to connect. And of course, in relationships, you need two sides to be on the same page. Of course, that's the problem is a lot of, as I said, a lot of Indigenous people, not all, but a lot of Indigenous people are coming in with an invisible backpack full of trauma, full of hesitancy to engage in services. And that backpack is on you as well and other people, whether you are Indigenous or not. And you have your own backpack on. We all do. We have our own biases. We have our own fears. We project that onto other people. That's probably another conversation. The point I'm getting at is relationships, and meeting in the middle and meeting halfway is the most important thing in any kind of workspace or work environment, or whatever role that may be. If we do not have smooth relationships, smooth communication, smooth understanding, clear, all these things that matter, things are going to be pretty hard. Things are going to be pretty bumpy. And of course, nothing is ever perfect. Okay. That's why the local council sit around and scratch their ring. But every now and then they will repair the roads, because even though the roads might have been smooth at some point, you got to keep doing it. That's why your kitchen gets clean and then it's dirty, then it's clean, then it's dirty. It's a maintenance thing. But if we can continue to maintain, keep the fridge in mind, we will create better relationships across both sides of the service, with the participant, with the client, with the kid, with the family, whoever. Thanks for listening. I need to breathe because I feel like I've been speaking so quickly, and now I have to go through and edit all these things. That'll be fun. No team. Let's go. Love yous. Happy NAIDOC week. Love yous. Happy NAIDOC week. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos on YouTube when I've got the time. And it's not just going to be blackfella stuff, because although I hyperfixate on things and I care a lot about reconciliation and relationship maintenance and repairing across both cultures, because I am of both cultures and proud to be of both cultures, I still I'm going to talk about other things as well. And who knows where this could take us.